And good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Wake Up with Cheddar. I'm Baker Machado in New York, and CBS is taking a massive step towards diversity and inclusion. The network now requiring their reality shows to ensure 50% or more of their casts are Black, Indigenous, or people of color. This comes after CBS has long been criticized for their lack of diversity on their reality shows like Big Brother and Survivor. Brice Izyah was the first Black openly gay contestant on Survivor, and he's the co-creator of Black Survivor Coalition, and he joins us now. Brice, great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. You were one of the few people of color on Survivor Season 28, which, by the way, aired only just a few years ago in 2014. So it's still so crazy that that show still has so much more work left to do. What was that like for you back in 2014?
I mean, definitely. It was isolating. My otherness was highlighted, and it made me an instant target. On a tribe of 6, I was the only non-Caucasian person. So it instantly put a target on my back and damaged my game.
Wow, and then of course when you're trying to win this game, you know,
$1 million.
and you're thinking about, that's a lot of stuff that's hovering above your head while you're also thinking about how are people interpreting me? You know, like, why do I feel so different around all of these people? All of that, that's a lot of pressure.
Yes, it definitely was. But I tried to keep my head up high and play the best game that I could absolutely play. And unfortunately, it didn't end up too well for me, but I still love the show, and I'm still so proud of the changes that CBS is honoring to me.
Now, you spearheaded this petition calling for Survivor to be more inclusive. Do you feel like this petition had anything to do or forced CBS with this announcement yesterday?
Absolutely. So the petition was brought together by a group of Black Survivor alums like myself, Jatia Hart-Taylor, Wendell Holland, Julia Carter, Sabrina Mitchell-Thomas, Jamal Shipman. And we really wanted to get change from Survivor and CBS for the lack of diversity and poor portrayal they've had on people of color. So we've decided to take the issue to the public. I mean, we definitely faced a lot of hurdles, but in the end, our voice was heard. And it's definitely a testament to always speaking up to what you believe is right. And so I'm so honored to be amongst these alums to create change in the show that we love. And it wasn't about calling CBS out. It was more about calling them in to really hear what we had to say.
Brice, on a wider level, not Survivor included, but all of the reality television shows out there, how systemic is this issue of a lack of diversity across the reality spectrum?
It's definitely deep-rooted, and for many Americans, television is the only exposure they have to African Americans. So what they see on TV affects their real-life reaction. And when we talk about police brutality of unarmed African American men, this directly shapes that. So it's so important not only to get us on the screen, but to have correct portrayals of us, to see us in different roles that you may not see, because again, this is the only time that some people are seeing or having any interactions with African Americans.
So true. You know, I'm a huge Bachelor and Bachelorette fan. And I remember, and Rachel Lindsay, the Bachelorette, was really critical of the show, essentially saying, you guys have failed so much when it comes to diversity. And clearly they got the memo because they have a new Bachelorette of color right now. More of the cast is becoming much more diverse. Is the hope here, Brice, that with CBS doing this and ABC obviously realizing they have an issue as well, that more networks then will start to realize how systemic this issue is and that more change will happen?
Absolutely. And we see that America is changing. Look at this election. We're so divided. And it's so hard for some that really don't want that. They really want it to stay the same. But CBS has gotten the message, and they are definitely changing with the times. And so they choose to be on the right side of history. So I hope that other networks follow suit in CBS's lead.
Now, this is just in front of the camera, Brice. What about behind the camera? Is the hope here that this includes writers, producers, directors, more women and people of color as well in the background as well?
Absolutely. And we know that in order to tell our story correctly, you need people that look like us to be able to tell our story. And so this is definitely one of the steps that CBS has committed to. We had multiple meetings with the decision makers at CBS, and they detail ideas and actions that they're willing to take. And, you know, they have more actions to come in the later years. And we plan to hold their feet to the fire. But I'm so honored and so privileged to be a part of such a great series and to be one of the leaders in making changes and speaking up, especially for an openly gay Black man in this country today.
So true. I mean, and Brice, you know, since 2014, have you felt that Survivor has gotten better when it comes to casting since your time on the show?
I mean, I feel like it has stayed stagnant. I think that they were just complacent. And I don't know if they really understood our concerns, which was why it was so important when we brought the petition up. And we were nervous because a lot of us, like myself, love the game of Survivor and would be honored to come back. And so we were scared that if we speak up, would this blackball us? But to the opposite, CBS was so open, so responsive, and having those multiple meetings with the decision makers really made us feel comfortable. And I really felt as though they heard our issues and, they set forth plans to how to fix it. And so I'm just, again, I can't say how thrilled I am to see this change on this show that I absolutely love.
Well, keep up the amazing work, Brice. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. Brice Izyah, former contestant on Survivor and co-creator of Black Survivor Coalition. Thank you so much for joining us.